Hey review family, keep it time. My name is Jay Morris, the review guy. Review music for the love of music, and I'm back again to bring you another video. Continuing this trend of condensing some of my album end of the year lists and going over some specific genres, I am bringing you death metal today. I'd say death metal has had a really fucking cool year with a lot of really standout releases that I have enjoyed thoroughly, and I'm super excited to hear if your guys' lists line up or what the death metal albums of the year that hit you the best were. So be sure to let me know down in the comment section below what your favorite death metal records of the year are. I can't wait to hear them. I will put in the description box below and a pinned comment all of the albums that I talk about in this video because I can never do them as much justice as you listening to them yourselves. There are 12 records on this list, so without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting off at number 12, I have Frozen Soul with Crypt of Ice. I called this record comfort food when it released, and even though it was very early on in the year, it continued to really stick out as sort of just a safe death metal record for people that like the more meat and potatoes approach, don't want anything too technical, just want a really hard-hitting death metal record. So if this happened to slip through the cracks early in the year for you, definitely double back and check this out because I think you might enjoy it. And if you didn't like it at first, maybe go back. You might like it a little bit more because I know that kind of happened with me to some degree. At number 11, I have Desinsertion with Our Biggest Mistake Was Letting Them Control Us. This was one of the only brutal death metal records of the year that really stuck out to me. It's in sort of the Dying Fetus veneer. Very great production to it. Gritty as all hell. It is gruesome and grotesque and just gross and disgusting. It has a great sound to it. And if you have been deprived of brutal death metal this year and missed out on this record, go check it out because I think you might like it. At number 10, I have Gravesend with Methods of Human Disposal. I remember when I was first turned on to this band by my dude Chanel over at Vital Vinyl Vlog, which, hope you're recovering well, dude. You've been going through hell recently. Go support Chanel. He's one of the hardest fucking working dudes in this niche. Gravesend really has this primal thing down to a T. When it comes to the murky sort of death metal, Gravesend takes that murkiness and makes it more aggressive, makes it more dense sounding, and for the studio links, people were excited, because were they going to be able to live up to their demos? Were they going to be able to live up to the EP? And yes, they did. It is gross, and it's nothing too flashy or technical, but I'm so glad that Gravesend really proved to everyone that they can kick ass just as much as people thought they were going to be able to. At number 9, I have Rivers of Nile with The Work. Rivers of Nile, maybe this record isn't as good as their previous one, but it is still a very experimental take on death metal infused with technical death metal and jazz and funk and some genres that you don't usually hear mixed to this degree. Maybe they're not the most unfamiliar, but Rivers of Nile continue to make some really Odyssey-like records, some Journey, some transcendental type of records. If Liturgy is that for black metal, then Rivers of Nile is kind of like that for death metal. And The Work, while it hit me very quickly as a record that was just hard to decipher, hard to describe, hard to conceptualize, in due time, it became a really awesome record for me. At number 8, I have Cannibal Corpse with Violence Unimagined. You can pretty much chalk up any year that Cannibal Corpse releases a death metal record for it to make an end-year list on everyone's death metal list if you are worth your weight in gold, because Cannibal Corpse, at this point, they are just super consistent. They're one of those bands that they always swing and they always hit it out of the park, but they never go above and beyond. But surprisingly, and I know that I share the sentiment with a lot of people, this record was sort of like a return to form, if you can even call it that. Cannibal Corpse sound very heavy, very aggressive, and in the year 2021, it shows that they have not lost their sharpened edge whatsoever, and if anything, have become more homogenized when it comes to crafting a really intelligent death metal style, but having that grit. If you ever get the chance to see them live, definitely do that. They are amazing live. Corpse Grinder, one of the most humble frontmen in death metal and just metal in general, and yeah, this record just was a great listen and just really fun and exhilarating. Coming in at number 7, I have Cerebral Wrought with Excretion of Mortality. So anyone that's followed me for any duration of time will know that when it comes to the low, grimy, mud-caked, old-school death metal revivalist sound, the Renaissance if you will, I've been a major proponent of backing Cerebral Wrought up. I've always thought that they had so much potential to them, and while their demos, while their EPs were are definitely worthwhile and some of the greatest coming out of that scene nowadays. I think this record really just nailed that point home and put them on the map more than ever before, and showed that they're not just a one-hit wonder with a record, and that they have a lot of gas left in the tank to be able to make some really awesome underground death metal music. And I'm happy to see that they are becoming one of the more important, well-respected, and popular versions of these bands. At number 6, I have Asphyx with Necroceros. This record released earlier on in the year and really continued to impress me with the death and doom metal hybrid mixture, because a lot of bands can feel a little hit or miss when it comes to that style. Either the death metal will overpower the doom metal or vice versa, and there just won't be a very pleasant balance. Comparatively speaking though, I think Asphyx, who I had not really known that much about prior to this release, does boast that sound pretty well. I enjoy the doom metal passages, I enjoy the death metal passages, and I think they justify their length in terms of how long the tracks are, and the transitional work is pretty spot on. There's not really that many hiccups, there's not much to say, other than the fact I wish they maybe would have been a little bit more ambitious. So we're up to the top 5. These are the records that no matter what happens in the rest of the year, I can continue to praise the hell out of in terms of death metal, and any of these would be great additions to your collection or listening habits. So at number 5, I'm going with Portal's Avow and Hagbulbia double albums, sister albums, freakishly torturous sister albums if you want to call them that. They can be played together, they can be played apart, and I feel like I have just warmed up to this Portal release more and more. I've been a big Portal fan for a while now. I thought that when it comes to the breed of experimental avant-garde death metal that is just hard to put a finger on, hard to realize how they even remotely thought of these compositions, I have warmed up to this record solely for the fact that I think so much craftsmanship went into this record and making it as intricate and making it as meticulous of an endeavor as they ended up doing. It's an abyssal record, one that is just megalithic in the production. It's completely awe-inspiring in how the sound is constructed. And take that from a staunch advocate for Hagbulbia being the superior of the two records. It's noisy, it's distorted, it has a lot of facets to it. It's just a really good multi-phased record. At number 4, I have Fossilization with He Whose Name Was Long Forgotten. So you remember how I was talking about with Cerebral Wrought, how there's, you know, that mud-caked old school death metal style? This record continues to be the one that I go back to the most. When it comes to subterranean, oh my lord. Since this drop, there hasn't been a record in this style this year that has really given me the same amount of just frenzied serotonin and aggression and just feeling very genuine. Sort of kind of like I talked about in the black metal video, how so many black metal bands try to get that old school style. Well, the same goes for death metal. So many bands try to feel like the old school, but don't really hit the mark. I think that Fossilization really did that, and it makes me happy to see that more people are giving this record a chance, and I hope that continues to happen, because I don't want them to just fade away, and I'm waiting to see if they're going to be able to build on that. At number 3, I have to put Mortiferum's Preserved in Torment. Man, this has to be the best Death Doom record of the year. Like, it has to be. Mortiferum up until this point was a band I had a lot of respect for, but I always thought that they had more in them than what we were being presented with, and if their potential was squandered in the past at all, it certainly isn't here. This is just a slow, chuggy rift fest with so much texture to it. When it comes to thick and despondent, harsh death metal, it's gonna be hard to find another record in 2021 that scratches that same itch that Mortiferum does. Take one peek at the cover art and it's just desaturated. And it's in the Finnish tradition, so there's that. I found it hard to believe that they were ever going to have it in them to make a record that sort of lived up to the potential that they had in the past and took it to the next level, but this record is just awesome and does just that and excites me endlessly for the future of Mortiferum. Number 2, if you would have told me that this band would have made top 2 of a death metal list in the year 2021 and made an awesome comeback, I wouldn't have believed you. Carcass with Torn Arteries. Funnily enough, probably one of the simpler records on this list. And yet, Carcass, just more than ever, has put you in the coffin of everything that made death metal and tech death and mellow death so exciting and thrilling and exuberant from the get-go. It's fun. It is just death metal bliss with thrash metal influences. It just blew me away, and I know it blew a lot of people away on first listen of how Carcass sounds this in top form. God, this record just puts a big dumb smile on my face, because it is not the most technical record on this list, and far from the most technical record of the year even. But it has every staple that makes it so fun. And number 1. This is a record that I put on a lot of your guys' radar, and I know that for a fact, and I couldn't be more glad, because I think this record deserves all the praise in the world, that being Cadaveric Incubator's record, Nightmare Necropolis. Funnily enough, for as much of a death grind fan as I am, this is the only death grind record on this list. But boy oh boy, does this throttling thing do it well. It is such a buff display of death metal and grindcore put into just this one unrelenting beast. It's like hot iron metal. It just has all the guts and grit and gusto. And surprisingly, you wouldn't necessarily think of like a great death grind band coming from Finland, but that's exactly what we got. It just threads the needle so well and is surprisingly memorable for a record of this genre, because any genre that has grind in it I'm immediately apprehensive about, because it can sometimes just blend together, but Cadaveric Incubator does not do that whatsoever. This is just a blistering listen that keeps me very excited and on the edge of my seat. Keeps you on your toes, and you find new things to appreciate about it every single time you listen to it. I can't say enough good things about this record, to be honest. So I'll just shut up and turn this over to you guys. What were your favorite death metal records of 2021 and why? Let me know down in the comment section below. I can't wait to see your guys' lists and see what records you really jived with this year, and maybe find some records that I missed this year. What's your favorite on this list? Definitely let me know. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is, my name is J Morse, the Review Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.